So now I have just a really unique privilege to introduce just the most priceless family. I don't know them really well. I've gotten to know them over the last year as we've talked about this. I actually met Donna. She came to the clinic with one of her friends, and just somehow in passing, she talked a bit about her story. And her husband Dell is here, and their daughter Beth is here. And he's actually written a book. It's called The 57-Year-Old Promise, and it's available back here in the back. It captures their whole story, and it is such a wonderful read. Just so much in there, and I'm sure there may be individuals in this room that have shared some of the experiences that they've gone through. But their story is so unique, it's so priceless. So I'm just so thankful that they're here tonight. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to invite them up. They each have something to say, and then you can get to know them. And I'm looking forward I've read their book, and so I know a little bit, but I'm just so anxious to hear their story from their own voices. So welcome.
Leave it to me. Whoops, I lost my shoe. That's how you break the ice, I guess. Can you all hear me? I'm so honored to share with you this amazing God story. I'm going to cry now. Chances are good that when you received your invitation to Hats in the Garden Tea, you saw the theme was Roaring Twenties, and you began your search for the best outfit you could find. As I look around the room, you've done a really good job. But now I'd like to invite you to fast forward from the 1920s to the 1960s. It was a time when kids walked to school, maybe a few miles away, played outside and went to the neighborhood park on roller skates that attached to your shoes with a skate key. You always kept your skate key on a string around your neck so you could get your skates on or off really quick. And then you could swing or play ball with your friends. And you always felt safe. Your telephone was attached to a wire in the wall. And for many of us, before we actually called someone, we put the receiver up to our ear to make sure that our other party line wasn't on the phone. I know that sounds so silly, like to you young people here, but that's the way it was back in the day. Let's see. It was also a time where guys that I went to school with were dreading receiving that very important brown government envelope in the mailbox, telling them they needed to register for the draft as the Vietnam War broke out in 1964. For me, the 1960s were an emotional time. I graduated from junior high, and that summer, my dearly loved dad suddenly died of a massive stroke. Those times were very devastating for my mom and I, and oh, so lonely without my dad to love and nurture us. But I was still very involved in my youth group at church with my closest friends. All the Bible verses that I had memorized in Sunday school and church would come to my mind and would help me. I'm apologizing for reading this because it took me a long time to write what I was going to share with you, and I don't want to skip anything because I feel it's all important. But these verses came flooding back to me, and they would help give me comfort and hope. There was a new guy named Dal that joined the youth group that summer. I teased him about his funny name, and I'm sure I made him feel very welcome. He actually became a very good friend to me, and one of the things I really liked about him, he was so polite, and he was kind and caring to my mom, and he really liked to tease her a bit. She was Scottish, and he teased her about her funny way she said certain words and her pronounced accent. She thought he was handsome, kind, generous, well-dressed, and fun to be around. She did remind him that he was to keep both hands on the wheel while driving, as cars had front seats where 3 people could sit. Dell and I spent a lot of time together, and before long fell in love. We were high school sweethearts. We went to rival high schools. We went on lots of double dates with friends. We were very involved in our youth group at church, and we looked forward to every minute that we could spend together. We often spoke about what it would be like when we could get married and be together forever. In the fall of 1963, I realized I was pregnant, and Dell and I talked about how we would tell our moms. Since my mom was widowed and not in good health, Dell and I decided we should tell his mom first. Her way of solving this dilemma was for me to have an abortion. Abortion was a term that really wasn't very familiar to teenagers in the USA at that time. We always thought about that as something that happened in Tijuana. Dell's mom said she would find a doctor to take care of it. Soon after that conversation, she met up with me, and she told me the appointment time, put the doctor's business card in my hand, and gave me the cash. And she said, go get this taken care of. Remember, there were no ultrasounds back then, where you could actually get a glimpse of what your baby looked like, or you could see your baby's heart beating, or see your baby moving and kicking inside you. No professionals with experience in these matters to talk to like the Hope Clinic offers. Dell and I went to the appointment together, sat in the waiting room, and waited for my name to be called. After about 10 minutes of waiting, I turned to Dell and said, I can't do this, and I won't do this. So he said to me, then let's get out of here, and we left. Now we were faced with telling my mom about my pregnancy. I remember the day I gave her that news through many tears. And in her Scottish way, she said, those are things you are not supposed to know about till after you're married. She called her Christian attorney to ask if he had any suggestions for an appropriate solution. He told her about the Salvation Army that had a place where a teenage girl that was pregnant could go and stay till after her baby was born. It was called the Door of Hope. And that seemed to be the best choice for me, so we made plans for me to move there. I moved in there when I was 4 months pregnant, and I stayed until after I delivered my baby girl. The Door of Hope was a safe place. You were well taken care of and provided for. I had a wonderful obstetrician who was so helpful to get me through those months and assured me that I would have a safe delivery and a healthy baby. One of the things I discovered while living there was that the majority of the girls who were living at the Door of Hope didn't have the father of their baby involved in their lives anymore. So basically, they were on their own to get through this very difficult time. I felt so blessed that Dell stuck by me and offered me support and love. One funny story about Dell was that sometimes when he came to visit, he would ask me to invite several of the girls to go with us to get an ice cream cone at the local thrifty drugstore. So it would be 3 or 4 pregnant girls in different stages of pregnancy with Dell. I can only imagine what the people in the store that day were thinking about this teenage boy who had 3 or 4 pregnant girls with him. He really created a little break from the difficult situation that we were all struggling through. But the days at the Door of Hope got long and lonely. There were lots of hours that I laid on my bed and I felt so sad for lots of reasons. I missed my family and my friends. I wondered how my mom was doing without me. Then I would think about how I was going to have to give up my baby. And how would I have the courage to do that? What would people think of me when I came back to church? Would my friends still want to hang out with me? Would I be able to be a comfort to my mom? There were days I didn't feel well, and as my tummy got bigger, my baby was really active, and it brought to mind the time was getting closer that I would have to say goodbye to her. All of us girls were basically living with strangers, and we're only on first name basis. So even though we had pregnancy in common, we really didn't feel like we had made new friends. Everything was very secret, and so we only knew first names, and for the most part, didn't even know what state or city each girl lived in. We never exchanged addresses or talked about getting in touch with each other after we left the Door of Hope. Two Bible verses that gave me comfort and peace were Jeremiah 1:5a. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And Psalm 139:16b says, all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. On May 20th, 1964, when my beautiful, healthy baby girl was born, I held her tight, checked her out from head to toe, prayed over her, and asked the Lord to protect and watch over her. 3 days later, I signed the papers and handed her over to the adoption people who would deliver her to her new family. I really had no idea what these people were like, their personalities, their lifestyle, what they looked like, if they already had children, and so many other thoughts and questions that went through my mind. Things are so different now. Girls can still go to high school even if they're pregnant. If they choose adoption, they have the opportunity to learn about families that are looking to adopt. They see pictures of them and they can choose the family that seems like the perfect match for them. They may choose an open adoption where they still have a part in their baby's life. They offer an opportunity to see their baby during their pregnancy through ultrasound. Once I gave up my baby, I had about a week or two of recovery time before I went home to be with my mom. I prayed for my baby girl and believed I would never see her again or know anything about how she was, what she looked like, what kind of personality she had, or what she wanted to be when she grew up. For me, as far as I knew, I said goodbye to my baby forever. But God had much bigger plans, amazing plans that I could never have dreamed of. Psalm 146:3 says he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Skipping forward just a bit, Dell graduated from high school and figured out what he would study in college. He signed up to start in the fall, but he would stay locally and still live with his mom and dad. We were still very much in love and longed to get married. Let's see, I'm losing my place there. In the winter of 1964, Dell turned 18. He proposed to me with a beautiful ring that I still wear today, and we ran away and got married. We took the train to Pocatello, Idaho. Bet you never heard of that. We hadn't heard of it before either. We were married by a justice of the peace and had two people walking by on the street to witness our vows. It was very romantic, as you can well imagine. We were young and in love, and then came back and lived with my mom until Dell found a job that he could work around his college schedule. The Bible verse that came to my mind was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Those first years were challenging, but we made it work and really grew up together. The Lord certainly watched over us. We had been married a little over 2.5 years when our son David was born. And 19 months later, our second daughter Denise was born, and she's here today. We never told David and Denise that they had an older sister. It never seemed to be the right time. Which my son now tells me that is not a good answer, Mom. When they were very young, they wouldn't understand. When they became teenagers, we sure didn't want to tell them then. And then they both graduated from high school, went off to college and started lives of their own and found jobs and fell in love and got married and had kids, and it just never seemed to be the right time. So fast forward to 57 years later. This is where DNA comes into the picture. My daughter Denise thought it would be fun to buy a 23andMe kit and see through DNA what her ancestry was. She was hoping to have some exotic relatives in her background somewhere, which she found exciting and fun. And what she discovered instead was a full-blood sister who got in touch with her and gave her the news that we had never shared with our kids. So I want all of you moms to picture this. This pink envelope with the message inside would change our lives forever. So many emotions to work through, and ultimately more joy than we could possibly imagine. This card and letter said, this is the card. I went to the mailbox by myself that day, and I opened this envelope. It was writing I didn't recognize, and the card just says, I don't know how much you can see, but it says, "To you," with a happy face. "From me," with a heart. "Content sensitive, take your time." And my friend Jeannie, when she was looking at this, said, "Donna, you could have written this card." I put happy faces on hearts on every time I ever send anybody an email card, anytime I do that. It's just really an amazing thing. So anyway, I'm going to read you what the letter said. If you're a mom of a teenage child, imagine this. November 14th, 2021. Dear Donna and Delwyn, oh no, you found out his name, the one that I made fun of when we were in junior high. My name is Elizabeth Ann, and I was born on May 20th, 1964 in San Diego County and given up for adoption. While I've always known I was adopted, I knew very little about the circumstances, the details, or people involved, but always had a curiosity, a craving, a desire to know more. After 57 years and some research, I found out that the two of you are my birth parents. So I wanted to write to you a letter to thank you for giving me life, tell you a little bit about myself, and perhaps connect with you on some level. I was adopted by Joyce and Seth and grew up with 2 older sisters and 1 younger brother. We lived in Rancho Bernardo for the first 5 years of my life and then moved to Rockford, Illinois, where I lived until going to college at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I always wanted to be a doctor and was fortunate enough to get into medical school at Southern Illinois University, where I graduated with honors. I've always been passionate about women's health, so pursued a residency in OB/GYN at Good Samaritan in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, these things are not by accident. God is such an amazing God that this is what she chose to do. It's just breathtaking. I moved to Reno, Nevada in 2001 to practice gynecology and urogynecology, and after several years decided to open up my dream practice, my women's center. I love what I do. I feel so fortunate to help women in all aspects of their health and wellness. While this is a big part of my life, I also love spending time with my husband, Steve. We love to travel, spend time with family and friends, and stay active. I love my life and have certainly been blessed in so many ways. While I don't know the details surrounding my adoption for you or for me, the experience has had a big impact on who we all are today. I want you to know that I'm grateful for you giving me life. I hope this letter helps you to know that I love life and have only one love and respect for you and your decision. I have no regrets. I don't have any expectations of what happens next, but would very much like to connect with you whenever you are ready. I won't contact you unless you are agreeable, but knowing you would mean so much to me. And she gave us her email and her phone number, and she signed it, Love, Beth. And then she included this page of pictures from the day that her parents got her, and some her playing and, as a young girl in high school, her wedding, and then the one at the bottom here is her professional doctor picture. So that was an amazing thing, and we saw our family for sure. Okay, so now I have to know where I'm going to. Okay. This pink envelope and message inside would change our lives forever, and there was so many emotions to work through, but obviously today there's so much joy. And we worked through the hard things, and she's a part of her family, our family. I mean, she and Denise get together, and they stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning talking every time they're together. It's amazing to me. I thought they were getting older, but I guess not. Anyway, we named our little baby girl Lorraine Diane. Lorraine was a favorite name of mine, and I just liked Lorraine Diane. But her adoptive parents named her Elizabeth Ann. We believe that is an amazing God part of this story. Beth told us there was no one in her extended family named Elizabeth, but that was the name her parents chose for her, Elizabeth Ann. There are 3 generations of Elizabeths in our family. My mom's name was Elizabeth. My middle name is Elizabeth, and one of our granddaughters, Denise's daughter's name is Anna Elizabeth. These are some of the things that people would call coincidence, but we believe that God had his hand on all of this. So today, I'm honored to introduce that baby girl we gave up for adoption out of love over 57 years ago. Please welcome our first daughter, Dr. Elizabeth Ann Hudson. I gotta get all my stuff here, so you don't start reading my story again.
Yeah.
Okay, do that. Good to go. Okay.
Wow, I'm filled with emotion. What a story. It's so beautiful, and it's full of complex emotions involving fear, loneliness, and loss. But even stronger was your resilience, your strength, your hope, your love. That's my story. God placed me in your womb before you were ready. He had a plan. I felt your strength. When we went to that scary clinic and they were going to take me away from you, I held on with all my might and said, please, no, don't do it. I think you heard me. You, Dell, and I walked out of that place. You chose life for me. God held our hands. God held our hands. I felt your sacrifice. You took me to the door of hope, leaving your mom and family, your friends, and your life as you knew it, to nourish and grow me. I felt your pain, but most of all, I felt your love. And the love of those around us at the door of hope, which was so important to us getting through this together. From our first day there to my first breath, God helped us grow together to change our lives forever. As you held me in your arms and you looked at every inch of me, I heard your prayers. You prayed, God, give our baby girl to a great family to care for her, and may she learn about you, your son Jesus, and the church. Your prayers were answered. Thank you for giving me life. Without you, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know my amazing family. They gave me love and opportunity, helped me to become who I am today, me. I was so lucky to have your imprint on me, your DNA that couldn't be erased. I had your eyes and Dell's nose and mouth. I had your creativity and your love of nature, and Dell's depth of character and joyful nature. I got to take that with me. From the day my adoptive parents picked me up at the adoption agency until they passed away, I felt their love. I was my mom's favorite, I'm sure of that. My dad provided for us and shared his love for rockets and space with us, often getting us up to watch the rocket launches from Cape Canaveral on TV at 4:30 a.m. Yikes. I felt their strength. They raised 4 kids. Now that takes strength. Need I say more? I felt their sacrifice. My parents worked hard to provide for all of us. They wanted all of us to get a college education and supported me through undergrad, graduate school, and medical school. I really don't know who it was harder for. I felt their pain. Raising 4 kids is not for the faint of heart. There was definitely challenges, not with me, of course, but my siblings. But I mostly felt their love. My parents, Joyce and Seth, adopted me. They took me in as their own. They cared and nourished me. They developed my character. They believed in me. They helped me grow into a good human being. But most of all, they loved me unconditionally and gave me opportunity to grow. Thank you for guiding my life. Donna and Del, you gave me your DNA and a prayer. How could I lose? I didn't quite fully understand the superpowers of your DNA. I was lucky to have your imprint on me, your DNA that couldn't be erased. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding, went back to page 3. Okay, here I go back. I didn't quite fully appreciate the superpowers of your DNA until I looked into your eyes on April 8th, 2022, and saw you, saw me, and saw God. I wanted that moment to last forever. Our story simultaneously came around full circle. I realized God's plan, His love, His timing, and His glory. Thank you for giving me life. Well, I could talk for hours about adoption, my life, my reunion with my birth family, mom, dad, that sister connection I had only heard about and now found in Denise, my brother, Dave, my nieces and nephews, my cousins, and all their wonderful friends, and many of which are here today, which has been so fun to meet everyone and hear the stories. But I'm really excited to introduce you to my dad, that imprinted me with 50% of his DNA and has showered me with love and joy. He can tell you about the incredible book he wrote about our story. It's called God's Promise. Please welcome my dad, the extraordinary Del Hickman. Yes. Okay.
Well, excuse me. It's a touching event, that's for sure. I've been asked to keep it short, and I'm not sure where the director all is. Oh, here she comes. I've been asked to share a little bit about the book I wrote, The 57-Year-Old Promise. But first, a birth father comment, if I may. You've heard a little bit about my involvement in being the birth father, loving and supporting Donna in the birth of our daughter. My experience tells me, in some ways, the man is often overlooked, or at best, thought of as only a minor player in the whole event of an unplanned pregnancy. Attention is mostly directed to the expecting birth mom and the expectant child, and I have no problem with that. But the man in the equation is an important human participant. As a 16-year-old, I had no fatherly input as to sexual matters, nor was there an older man in my life as a mentor. I really had no thoughts as to the results of my actions. But, for me, I knew I had done something wrong, but I had no clue on how to solve or handle the eventual results. When Donna was pregnant, I think it's fair to say we were both numb. Neither of us had any idea of what to do about the pregnancy. I knew I really cared for this girl. She brought a lot of happiness to my life, and I was going to be committed to hold her hand through whatever we were going to go through. Many of you already know about the fatherhood program at Hope. I'm so happy that men are being informed and mentored towards participating in the process of supporting and caring for the woman who's carrying and birthing their child. Well, now quickly to the book. The book was written for my family, for the daughter, who I had never seen until she was 57 years old. It was written with three people in mind. One was to encourage the pregnant mother and to help her make a decision on what to do in the near future about her yet unborn baby. Second of all, it was written for the father and mother of their pregnant daughter, that they might help her make a right choice. And finally, it was written to encourage the woman that still had the pain of giving over her newborn child to another family. Birth parents in the book prayed that God would guide their baby girl to a loving, God-fearing family, and she would have a blessed life. They trusted God and sensed that He had made a promise to them that He would do exactly what they prayed for. God is everywhere in this story. When you read the book, you'll walk through 58 years of an adoption story. You'll understand the pain of being an unwed mother. You'll encounter the choice of giving away your beautiful baby girl. You'll realize the promise fulfilled of that girl growing up in a happy home. You'll know the results of seeing her become an amazing adult human being, literally touching and enhancing the lives of tens of thousands of women. You'll get the surprise experienced by the sister who discovered she had an older sister that she never knew about. And again, Denise is in the audience, and I'd just like to have her stand up and be recognized. She started this whole story. You'll endure the shock of the surprise communication to the long unknown birth parents from the now adult adopted child. And you'll feel the joy of an amazing reunion. And finally, you'll enjoy the blessing of that daughter being incorporated into her entire birth family. Well, you've only heard a portion of the story this afternoon, and so for today only, Beth has donated 100 books to the Hope Clinic for Women. Each book has been signed by the author, by the way. And a book will be given to each person who donates at our table $20 to the Hope over here at the table. 100% of these donations will go to the Hope Clinic for Women. But we can only accept cash or check for this special donation. But the 57-year-old promise is available online where you can use your credit card. And the website address is 57, that's 57yearoldpromise.com. We'll also have business cards on the table with the website address. Many of you have already gotten your copy. Please enjoy the full story. We truly enjoyed sharing our story with you this afternoon, and may God bless you by it, and may He continue to bless the awesome work of the Hope Clinic for Women.